Hello, new parents. My name is Victoria, and I will be discussing how your child's brain is developing in utero. Now, first, let's talk about the basics, both the neuron and the brain. So, the neuron is what our nervous system is made of, and are grouped into bundles called nerves. Our body is made out of billions of these neurons, and each have four distinct parts. The first part are dendrites, which look like a network of antennas that receive incoming signals from neighboring neurons to the cell body. Next is the cell body, which contains the cell nucleus and relays information to the axon. Third is the axon, which is a thin structure that carries signals from the cell body to the terminal buttons. And then last is the terminal buttons and the neurotransmitters, which transmits the signal outside the cell. Now, these neurons communicate using action potential, which sends electrical currents through it that causes neurotransmitters to be released. So the neurotransmitters then pass through synapses, or the space between neurons, to send and receive signals. So next, we're going to discuss the brain. Now, the brain is made up of a wrinkly outer area called the cerebral cortex and regulates much of our basic functions. The brain is then divided into two hemispheres, the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, with the corpus callosum connecting them and allowing communication between both sides. Now, because we have a right and a left, the right hemisphere actually communicates and shows what's happening on the left side of your body, while your left hemisphere kind of shows what's happening and what you're doing on the right side of your body. So it's switched. So now that we've discussed the basics, let's talk about how your fetus's brain is developing. So the brain begins its formation at 3 weeks, when a group of cells form the structure called the neuroplate. This neuroplate then folds itself into the neural tube, which differentiates into 4 parts: the forebrain, the midbrain, and the hindbrain, as well as the spinal cord. Now, the forebrain will become the cerebral cortex, the midbrain will become the neural relay, the hindbrain will control basic functions like breathing and heart rate, and then the spinal cord is a way to send signals between the brain and the body. Next, we have in weeks 4 to 8, the embryo will grow rapidly and its face becomes more human-shaped. The two hemispheres, the left and right hemisphere, start to emerge in these weeks as well. During week 8, neurogenesis occurs, which is when tissue increases as new cells form. These cells then migrate outwards using glial cells. Glial cells are fibers that form the underlying structure of the nervous system. As these cells reach their destination, they then group and they gain characteristics from that area of the brain. In weeks 8 to 26, the cerebral cortex grows to cover the midbrain. During weeks 28 to 40, major structural change happens, with the cortex expanding rapidly and becoming wrinkly and folded. At the same time, the brain structure fills with hills and valleys called gyri and sulci, which creates a neural network and allows the brain to become it becomes more of a control center and is able to process a lot of information due to these folds and valleys. As the brain grows, billions of neurons, dendrites, axons, and synapses reach their peak at about an infant's first birthday. And after this, synapses will start to disappear in what is known as synaptic pruning, because some of these synapses just don't make sense to be in the brain anymore, and they're unnecessary. So there you have it. That is how your child's brain will both develop and grow in utero. Hope you learned something, and have a good day.